graduated from Rowan University in the spring of 2022 with a sports communication and media degree. I got to actually call minor league baseball and G League basketball games while I was in school. And then I graduated, and as soon as I graduated, I went to NFL Films in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And as much as I loved that experience, I missed putting on the headsets. I decided, you know what, talk is cheap. I have a laptop that's in my house, and so 21 months later, here we are, still on YouTube, calling games and building an incredible, loving community on here with the people that I call my Philly freaks with a capital P and a capital H. We go live for every single Phillies, Sixers, and Eagles game, and we do it like old school radio play-by-play style. I'm Jason Joseph, and this is Play-by-Play with JJ.
I showed a swung on, barreled out to right field. Bye-bye baseball.
That baby is long gone.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome on into the Phillies postgame show here on Play-by-Play with JJ. What a wonky game for the Philadelphia Phillies, but it took them 6 innings for them to decide this game. This was one of those games where I was surprised that they didn't delay it to begin with. Zach Wheeler went 2 innings today, and then the Philadelphia Phillies went into their first rain delay in the bottom of the 3rd inning out in Baltimore. And then when it went to the bottom of the 6th, they ended up still in a rain delay, and then they finally called it just about 20 minutes ago or so. Maybe a little bit less than that. But regardless, the Phillies do get themselves a win and a much-needed series win against the Baltimore Orioles before they head back to Citizens Bank Park to take on the Washington Nationals for a 4-game set. My takeaways from this series. The Phillies finally got themselves 2 wins in a row. Much needed wins for this ball club if they want to feel confident about heading on into the trade deadline. I think that this makes them feel at least a little bit better. Maybe it doesn't really make a difference, but I know that for a lot of fans that are out there, you feel much better heading on into Citizens Bank Park and going back to Philly to take on the Washington Nationals. Maybe this can spark a little run out of the Philadelphia Phillies because this is their first series win that they've had since the All-Star break. I just want this team to be able to build momentum, and obviously we are going to be talking about the trade deadline. I will be live all morning tomorrow, and I will be live tonight. If the Philadelphia Phillies do actually decide to make a move, we will be live. We will be talking all about it, and we'll be talking about this baseball team. So make sure that you guys stay on and stay updated for all of the news in regards to the Philadelphia Phillies for the trade deadline. But this game in particular, I want to talk about it because in this game, the Philadelphia Phillies just got 2 innings from Zach Wheeler. Let's talk about Zach because today, overall, I thought that he did pretty good. I was really nervous about Zach Wheeler. I was very, 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 very worried about how he was going to look out there on the field today. I was super nervous because he just did not have his velocity in his last game, and he only went 3 innings, and you don't usually see a downtick in velocity like what Zach Wheeler displayed, and they pulled him after 3. And I was thinking that maybe that there was an injury that was involved with it. Now, I'm not going to say that Zach Wheeler's off the hook here because, again, he only pitched 2 innings. So we really didn't get much out of Zach Wheeler. But from what we did get out of him, I can say to myself, I definitely feel better than what I thought before. I know that he said, even after the game, that he doesn't feel any sort of discomfort. I've just been, as a Philadelphia sports fan, I've seen a lot of times where people, even the players themselves, say something like that, and it just brings up a lot of flashbacks to a lot of bad sports injuries that I've seen from Philadelphia sports athletes. But he looked good today from what he showed us. He was throwing a lot of 95, 96 mile per hour fastballs that were just located properly in the zone. He got a lot of swing and miss stuff from that curveball today, too. The curveball looked really good out of his hand. It was just firing on all cylinders. He got a lot of swings and misses out of it. It was not flat. It had a lot of movement, a lot of velocity to it, and that made me very happy because, again, Zach Wheeler I know that he only pitches every 5 games, but even with Christopher Sanchez and Jesus Luzardo in this starting rotation, the Phillies need to have Zach Wheeler, and he is the ace of this staff. And for him to just be out there in the playoffs, it gives you a much better chance. It gives you a much better chance of going up against a competitor like the Milwaukee Brewers, like the Atlanta Braves, and obviously the Los Angeles Dodgers. You need Zach Wheeler to be healthy, and you need to get him into the postseason with all good health. You got to get the most out of him. So today, 32 pitches, 24 strikes, and again, just 2 innings, but I saw some really good stuff out of him. I was really nervous about today because I thought that this was going to tax the bullpen. And I am so happy that the Philadelphia Phillies did not even have to worry about that today because this team is going to be a lot different heading on into tomorrow. I wonder, even if with the trade deadline stuff, if Major League Baseball just said, all right, we got through the 5th inning, and now we're going to be in a delay again. Let's just call it because we don't want you guys, either you or Baltimore, to just use more pitchers because we both know that you're going to be active at the deadline tomorrow. I wonder if there was some sort of decision when it came to that, too. I don't know. Maybe I'm speculating, but it was just such a weird time. It was. But you didn't have to go to Jonathan Bolin today. You didn't have to go to Duran today. Didn't have to go to any of – you only just went to 3 guys. You just went to 3 guys, and that's it. So that makes me very happy. Backus went 1 inning today. Meza went 2. And really, Orion didn't even pitch. I forgot that they said that he was going to, and he was going to come on in, but obviously he didn't even pitch. You didn't have to use Orion Kirkring today. You just used 2 bullpen guys. You just used 2 guys. That was it. That worked out as a best-case scenario for this team. So Meza does get the win. He's technically 3-3 on the season. Bradish does get the loss. He's now 7-10. But Meza did go 2 innings. I just don't really have a lot of confidence in this bullpen. Backus did not necessarily look his best today. I take everything with a grain of salt. He didn't look good at all. He had runners again over at 2nd and 3rd. Pete Alonso, unluckily for his sakes, just hit a shot right over to Bryce Harper as Alonso, again, was ahead in the count 3-0. Then it became 3-2, and that ball was drilled right over to Bryce. And after Alonso came up, right after him, it was Gunnar Henderson who hit a shot out over towards center and ended up lining out, and that ended the inning. So Backus got the result. I just did not like how he looked today. Again, it's been a problem for a little bit of time, and we don't have to continue the banging on that drum because we've been banging on that drum for quite a bit of time. Backus is just not a major league pitcher. There's a lot of pitchers that are in this bullpen that we say to ourselves are not even major league pitchers. Seth Johnson and Kyle Backus are definitely 2 of those people that we have continually said that are not big league pitchers. We've seen enough. And that's what I got to say about that. The offense today did a good job. Yes, they did. They did a very good job today. I was a big fan of how they ended up getting their runs. I'm not going to take much stock into this, though, because, again, the Orioles bullpen is not who you're going to be facing in the playoffs. You're going to be facing much better bullpens who have better arms and guys of that nature, but this is a start. Right? You got to capitalize on bad pitching. I'm not saying I don't take any stock into that. But there were times today where Nunez, left out pitches over the middle of the plate. He walked a lot of batters. The problem with the Orioles today is that they walked a lot of guys. If you could see Suarez pitching, his location was off. Part of that obviously had to do with the weather. The weather did not play a good factor into Baltimore's decision-making today and their lack of execution, but the Phillies pounced on it, and they did what they had to do. Nunez walked 2 batters too. Ricky Bottalico says it all the time. A walk can be a pitcher's worst nightmare. And the Philadelphia Phillies were very patient at the plate, and they just moved runners over from station to station and let the Baltimore Orioles pretty much crumble themselves. There's times where we watch this Philadelphia Phillies team and opponents are leaving pitches out over the middle of the plate, and we're saying to ourselves, why aren't the Phillies taking advantage there? Or we see guys throwing a lot of junk, and Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper just chasing on after it, and we're like, how come they didn't hold up there? Or why did they swing at those horrible pitches? Same thing with Trey Turner. It happens a lot of times. Just be patient at the plate and take what the pitcher is giving you. It's one thing if the starting pitcher is dominating the zone, then you got to try to foul off pitches, and you got to work up at bats like what Bryson Stott did yesterday. Today, though, the offense capitalized on all the mistakes from Baltimore. Good. They got to rack up these wins. I don't care how they happen. They got to rack up these wins. The whole mentality for me right now when it comes to this Philadelphia Phillies team is obviously get to the playoffs. We have yet to really assess what the rest of the season looks like because that assessment really comes into play tomorrow. It comes tomorrow after the trade deadline. That's when it comes. So I don't know how this team is going to do and what they're going to do to make moves. Which moves that they're going to make, we can all guess. We'll be getting updates on our phones, obviously. But this is a different team tomorrow, and we'll have to assess that as needed. I also want you guys to remember this, too, when we head on into tomorrow. Okay? Not saying that you should give this Phillies team grace. But if they also do make moves tomorrow, that is going to affect tomorrow's game. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just stating that because obviously there's going to be guys that aren't going to be on this team anymore. And with those holes, they're going to have to try to call up different guys to the roster. And they're going to have to make room for a certain amount of players. I'm just putting that out there. Okay, so if you expect them to win tomorrow, it all depends. A lot of the odds are going to shift, obviously, depending on what the Philadelphia Phillies do at the deadline. Same thing with the Washington Nationals. It's the same exact thing. But I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there because tomorrow is a big day. And tonight is a big night, too. Tonight and tomorrow, all day, are all about Dave Dombrowski. How can Dave make the team better? And we'll get more into that. But to just get back on track here with the Philadelphia Phillies, good. They took 2 out of 3 against the Baltimore Orioles. I need them to build off of this. I need them to capitalize again on really bad pitching and take what the pitchers are giving them. They did that in 2 out of 3 of these games. Obviously disappointed that they lost on Friday. Would have loved them to get a series sweep. But they're stepping in. I don't want to say that they're stepping in the right direction, but they're playing better than what they've showed us. That's a start. It's not what we want, but it's a start. It's a start. They got a lot of work to do. I'm still not feeling good, but we're going to be supporting this team, obviously, no matter what. So, other at-bats today that I really enjoyed. Yes, Kyle Schwarber had one walk that I thought was really big after Trey Turner walked in the third. Unfortunately, Bryce Harper did strike out in that moment in time, right after Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner got on with walks. I don't know what Trey Turner was doing over at first base, by the way, on that same play. That was ridiculous. He should have just stayed right over at first. He took a stance. He took the lead off over at first on what ended up being a 3-2 pitch, and then he sort of hesitated, and then he took another lead, and then the pitcher knew that obviously he was way off the bag, so obviously then threw it over to first, got him caught into a rundown, and that ended up being a costly out. I just don't like, again, how this team is finding ways just like that, even on the bases, to smack themselves in the head. Don't tell me, oh, this happens with other baseball teams. While, yes, that's true, I have seen some really bad blunders on the bases, not just from the Phillies. There's no excuse. There's no excuse for this stuff to be continually happening time and time again. And that's why I get very disappointed with the Philadelphia Phillies, because we saw this with JT. We saw this so many times, even just over the years, where they shoot themselves in the foot and they have an opportunity and they're not hitting the ball well with runners in scoring position. I would much rather have them ground out with bases loaded and nobody out and just not even get a run than see them making mistakes on the bases. Because that is shooting yourself in the foot at its finest. You're causing these outs yourself, and you're making silly mistakes, and those things add up. So I would much rather see them, and not saying that I'd like this, but if there was an opportunity with bases loaded and nobody out and they don't get a run, it's still inexcusable. But with the base running blunders that they've been having, that is just little league stuff. That's little league. That's not what a professional baseball team needs to be doing with players who are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. That's just unacceptable. But getting back to the topic at hand, Kyle Schwarber did get on with a walk, and then Bryce Harper struck out. But I still really liked that Schwarber at bat. I am a fan of Brian De La Cruz. That 2-run shot that he hit was nice. I want Brian De La Cruz to be on this team after the All-Star break, unless the Philadelphia Phillies can get a good package for him, and obviously then he has to be included in the deal. But Brian can play. Brian can play, and I want them to continue to ride this thing out. Brandon Marsh was having his hot spurt, and the Phillies rode that out. I think that they should do the same thing with Brian De La Cruz. This guy can hit. He can hit for power. He can hit for contact. He also is very fast. And he has a chip on his shoulder. Let's not forget about that. He was let go of by the Marlins. He had a lot of promise and a lot of potential with the Miami Marlins. And now that he's back in the majors, he has something to prove. He has that blue-collar mentality that we can all appreciate and that we all come to love, because we bleed the red, the white, and the powder blues. That's what he's doing. So he had a nice shot over the straightaway center today. Got the Phillies offense started after the Justin Crawford double. Crawford's also hitting the ball better too, which makes me happier. But again, there's still a lot of work to do. Bohm did get 2 hits today. He also put up a run. Crawford put up 2 runs today. And Harper had the solo home run. Good for him to be able to do that off of a lefty. It was a bad mistake, but he did it. First time that that's happened since the beginning of the season. But that was nice. That was nice to see. I just need more. All I can say at this point is that I just need more. I need this team to be consistent, because they have not had a good start to the second half. And even at the very beginning of July, throughout all of July, they played terrible baseball. They had a chance to be able to cut the deficit even less and possibly take over the NL East division. They were at 1.2 games in back of the Atlanta Braves. And right now, as we speak, at this moment in time, they are still 8 games in back of Atlanta. They're still 8 games in back of Atlanta, and they're only 1.5 above the Miami Marlins. They have got to get that separation from Miami, from Washington, from Pittsburgh, and from all of those teams, and just be able to continue to sustain success and get themselves back in the division race. That's what I want at this moment in time. So 610-314-0844 is how you dial on into the Phillies postgame show. We talked about Backus. We talked about Tim Mesa. We talked about Zach Wheeler. For those of you, I know that there were a lot of comments saying that why would the Philadelphia Phillies go to Kyle Backus in the 3rd inning. I'm going to be honest with you. That's not Don Mattingly's fault. That's a Dave Dombrowski problem. right? If you're upset that Kyle Backus is out there for the third inning, this is the roster that was given to you, okay? Would you rather have Kyle Backus go out there for the third inning or for the seventh inning or for the sixth inning, the eighth inning, the ninth inning? You surely don't want him later in the game. I understand that you don't want him at all, but there is just no other option. Now, I agree that Alex McFarland should be called back up. I don't know why he got sent down. Okay, but obviously Backus is a lefty. Yes. But I'm just saying that where else do you want him to come on in? Because this is a Dave Dombrowski problem. If you're going to blame Don Mattingly for putting in Kyle Backus, and again, Backus somehow, some way got out of that third inning. I don't know how. But that is just flawed in my opinion because where else do you put him? You can't put him in for the first. You can't put him into the game at all, period. I don't know. Obviously, you can't use him in high leverage spots. So he has to come on in at some point in time. So, first series win since the All-Star break. Yeah, that's all great stuff. That is all great stuff. I am happy again that they're that they took a step forward. That was the goal heading out of the series. Take a step forward. Do not continue to take steps backwards. And they did. There's a long ways to go, ladies and gentlemen. A long, long ways to go. But I can't be mad. I would rather be feeling like this than screaming my lungs out at this Phillies team. Okay? That's where I stand. So, the rain is truly a blessing. Every drop, a blessing for the Phillies and to us too. Yes, it was important that the Phillies ended up only having to go to 2 bullpen pitchers today. That worked out very well. It did. The Phillies were lucky with that. But again, I'm also wondering too if Major League Baseball said something because of the trade deadline being tomorrow. Just get to the 6th. Just get us past the 5th inning, and just let us get to tomorrow with the trade deadline. So that's where I stand. 610-314-0844 is how you dial on into the postgame show. The floor is all yours, chat. The floor is all yours. If you guys want to call on in, you most certainly can. You most certainly can. All right. Play-by-play with JJ. I got the impression Middleton is holding Dombrowski back, unsure if he wants to spend and get. JS, by holding him back, what do you mean by holding him back? That he doesn't want to have to pay for more on players? You think that maybe that's what it is? I disagree. I'm happy that you bring this up, though, man, because some people, even on the Twitter space, have actually said the same thing, that John Middleton is holding back Dave Dombrowski from making extra moves. And I disagree with this, because John Middleton has been willing to spend all the money that he can to put this Phillies in a championship level window. And Dave and Bryce have not been able to execute. Part of the blame goes on Bryce too, because they've given Bryce Harper the keys at times for him to play GM. So John's willing to spend. John has been willing to spend the big dollars on JT, on Bryce Harper, on Trey Turner, on Duran, on Zach Wheeler, on Jesus Luzardo, and on Christopher Sanchez. And just has not gotten the return of investment. So if Dave wasn't given a leash, I would say that John Middleton wouldn't be willing to spend as much as he has. Look at the payroll. The Philadelphia Phillies have one of the highest payrolls in all of baseball. And so that's my whole point about this whole thing. If John Middleton was hindering Dave Dombrowski, then John Middleton would have never been willing to spend all the amount of money that he's been spending right now. That's how I see it, though. Scott, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, man? It is good to see you. Good to hear from you. Your takeaways from the series.
Well, I will say this first and foremost. The streak is over. The losing streak is over.
The losing streak is over. That's good.
Yes, it is. Phillies.
Scott, what do the Phillies need at the trade deadline tomorrow? What do they need in order for them to just improve? We're not talking about compete with the Dodgers. In order for them to be a better team, what do they need? Who do they need?
Pitching.
Pitching.
Pitching. That's it.
So you could care less about a bat. You could care less about a right-handed
Right.
bat.
Yes.
Okay. So you think that they have to stock up on pitching, get themselves a bullpen arm, get themselves a nice starting pitcher, but you could care less about the offense. Do you think that they will add a bat?
And they could.
Yeah.
Potentially. I'm not sure, though. They might.
Yeah. I think that they're going to get at least one bat, but it might not be like a needle-moving bat. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to probably try to go after a needle-moving type of a pitcher in the bullpen and in the rotation, and then maybe just add like another cute depth chart piece, like another platoon outfielder, that type of a thing.
Right. Maybe go after Luis Ariz or somebody like that.
I would love that. I would love them to go out there and get Luis Ariz. He would really help out the offense. He's one of the best, if not the best, contact hitters in all of baseball, and he would really boost up this lineup. He's another lefty, but hey, man, you got to do what you got to do to improve. What were your thoughts though on this game?
Well, I thought it was really good to see Bryce Harper get a home run today.
That was
It
nice.
was great. Which he hasn't had one of those in a while, so that's good.
That was good.
So, yeah. Trade deadline is going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Bryce Harper capitalized on a mistake today. Also, I forgot to mention this too, but Brandon Marsh had a really nice sliding catch. That ball was sinking over towards that left field corner, and he made a really good catch out in left field. I forgot to give Brandon Marsh's flowers on the defensive side because that catch was awesome.
Oh, no, well, yeah, I didn't actually get to watch the game because Baltimore games are blocked out in my area.
Ugh, that sucks. That sucks, dude. I'm still happy that you were able to tune on in over on here. I'm sure that you're going to be watching the highlights. Yeah.
Oh, I will. I definitely will. And we'll definitely be keeping up with you and all that.
Yep. That's not going to get a lot of sleep tonight. That's right.
Especially tomorrow, I'm going to keep up with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to keep up with everything. Dave Dombrowski needs to get his coffee. He has to be ready in the morning, and he needs to wake up, Scott. He needs to wake up. He can't be getting any sleep all night. He has to make the team better. If he gets sleep, it better be a good night's sleep.
Right, he needs to be in bed right now.
That's right. I want him making moves, and if I want him, I need him to be making moves. That's what we want. All right, Scott, I'm going to let you go. I'll talk to you later, though, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. See you tomorrow.
All right, sounds good, buddy. Shout out to Scott on the chat. In the chat. Drop the MVPs. Yeah. The Philadelphia Phillies are 46-18 when Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, and Jesus Luzardo start a game. They are 13-35 when anybody else starts. And they ended up getting the win today. And they won a series for the first time since the All-Star break. And they actually took a step in the right direction. So, bad news rain, good news series win, says the Philadelphia Phillies Twitter page, and that is good. I like that. Yeah. What else? What else did I want to say? I forget what else. Now they can't even pull first base out of the ground to change the bag between innings and finally just said screw it and give up. What a day for the Baltimore grounds crew. Dude, they deserve a big shout out because they did everything that they possibly could out there to try to keep this game going. And I have to give them a shout out for everything that they did today. I don't really know if other streamers will do the same thing, but the grounds crew did everything that they possibly could, and I want to make sure that they give that I give their flowers to them and everybody that was a part of it because it's not easy. That's something that's not an easy job being able to do, and they were ready for every single moment, and they did their best. They really tried to get this full game in there today, and the weather was not looking good heading on into this game, and at least they got 6 innings in, but they tried everything. They tried everything, kept on testing the dirt, kept on putting on dry dirt to see if they could even, get a game in, and they just could not, unfortunately. So I got no confidence in Dave Dombrowski, says Joanne. What's up, Joanne? How you doing? Yeah, Don's just working with what bullpen he was given. Yeah, I don't understand the whole complaint about Don Mattingly not or going to Kyle Backus there because, again, what would you rather have? Would you rather have Kyle Backus go out there for the 7th and the 8th inning in a very close game? No, obviously you wouldn't. You'd be ripping him to shreds. This is a Dave Dombrowski issue. This had nothing to do with Don Mattingly today when it came to his decision-making in the bullpen. It almost backfired. It almost blundered, and I know almost doesn't count, but even then, I will tell you this for free. People will probably say, well, if Backus gives up the lead there, you're probably saying, what the heck is going on, Don? I'm being dead honest when I say this. They had no other choice. You're not going to put Zach Wheeler back in the game after a 2-hour or an hour 40-minute rain delay, however you want to call it. That's just not what you do. That's not what you do in this type of a game, and you don't want to risk an injury for Zach Wheeler. That's not what you do. You can't put him back into the game, and you got to use one of your lower end middle relief guys. They don't have a middle relief guy. It's not like the Dodgers who have a Roki Sasaki or an Emmett Sheehan coming out of the bullpen if Derek Skubal only goes 2 innings because of the rain. That's not how it works. They just don't have that depth, and that's a Dave Dombrowski problem. And that's an organizational issue. You just have to hope that this roster gets hot in October, says Leonard. Yeah, we want them to obviously get hot at the right time. We want them to be clicking on all cylinders. But we also don't want them to miss the playoffs, right? And we want them to try to get better when it comes to the right-handed bats, when it comes to getting another starting pitcher and boosting up the bullpen. It's a lot for them to try to attack during this trade deadline. But this is if they stand pat and if they want to be contenders. I don't think that the Philadelphia Phillies are going to be sellers at the deadline. I would be very shocked. I would be super, super shocked if the Philadelphia Phillies were sellers at the trade deadline. I'd be shocked. Regardless of what you believe, the Philadelphia Phillies are not going to sell. That's just not what they're going to do. But we were coming up with so many different hypotheticals, and we'll come up with other ones tomorrow. Is Kyle Schwarber on the table? I think that he might be. I think he should, I would say. I don't think he is going to be, but I think he possibly should. But we'll get more into that at a little bit of a later time. Okay? But the bottom line, staying back on track, as I've failed to do 3 times during this whole entire postgame show. Yeah. There was nothing that you could do about the bullpen. Nothing that you can do about the bullpen today. And it worked out really well that you didn't have to go 7 innings with your bullpen today. I was really nervous about that. Oh, I was super scared about that because you don't have an off day until next Thursday. Or sorry, not this coming Thursday, but the next Thursday after that. That is bad. So you didn't have to worry about that today. I was really nervous that they were going to have to worry about that. And thank goodness that did not happen and that this was just only 6 innings. So, Dombrowski can't fill a starting pitcher and a middle reliever and a right-handed bat. I'm going after the starting pitcher, says Boots. If you were to pick one of the 3 of what he has to nail, you're saying that he has to nail the starting pitcher. And I go back and forth with this whole entire conversation. I really do. JJ, you're going to cover the Boston Red Sox game today. I do have to eat at some point in time. I might be back on a little bit later tonight, but this whole game really threw me off. This whole game really did throw me off. So you will see if I am live reporting on the trade deadline topic. If there is nothing going on tonight, I will be on very early tomorrow morning, and we'll be covering the Philadelphia Phillies and their whole entire trade deadline day tomorrow, okay? That's how it's going to work. Stott had a 15-pitch at-bat yesterday. It was absolutely amazing. Michael, he has to do that more. He has to do that more. And the rest of this team has to do that too, because that is what made the Philadelphia Phillies in 2022 scary, and that's how they got hot at the right time, because they were fouling off pitches, because they were actually taking what the pitcher was giving them, and when they were throwing mistakes, the Philadelphia Phillies capitalized every single time. You got big swings from Rhys Hoskins in the playoffs, big swings from even Kyle Schwarber and Gene Segura, because the pitchers were all throwing mistakes for the most part, and Bryce Harper too was racking. Middleton has $100 million in bats. If they can make contact at the plate, we got bigger problems. If Dave focuses on anything than a starting pitcher and a bullpen, he needs to be fired. Yes. If he focuses, unless it's for Luis Ariz. If it's Luis Ariz, then obviously he has to still get help in the rotation and he has to get help in the bullpen. But I will say, if he doesn't fix the outfield, but he gets Luis Ariz, the lineup is better. The lineup is better. And again, it all depends on who do they go after. There's not one way. There's not one type of way that they can get better. They can add to some of the deficiencies that they have, and they have a lot of deficiencies. They have 5 different holes. So I don't know. That's where my mind is, though. Remember last year, the reason the Dodgers won last season, they beat themselves in the late innings, says Leonard. Yeah, the Philadelphia Phillies did beat themselves, and that's what they did against the Dodgers the second time that they faced them again out in Philadelphia. And we're talking about a team whose starting pitching did not even include Ohtani, Skubal, or any of their top guys. Justin Robleski was an all-star, and yet when everybody else is healthy, he's a number 6. So they did face Justin, and I expected them to not put up many runs in that game. But against Sasaki and some of the other guys, like Emmett Sheehan, they should have won those games, chat. They beat themselves. They beat themselves in that series, and that's what was unacceptable about that. They did it against the B squad of the rotation. YouTube has the absolute worst timing for ads to try. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. That really does suck. I recommend the YouTube package where you get no commercials, says Leonard. What else? What else do we want? I had Baltimore plus 4.5. What happens to my bet? You lost. You're done. GG's. Hold up. GG's. Yeah, I hear you though, Try. That's really frustrating. I'm in the middle of a sentence and all of a sudden the ad pops up. It's like I'm in the middle of a sentence. Did you know that Geico could save you 15 minutes or 15% or more on car insurance? You know? Like, that's really annoying. It's really frustrating. I get that. Tigers had a mediocre second baseman. Mays is the target. He might be good. Casey Mize have a mediocre second pitcher. And Casey Mize, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to getting Casey Mize. But again, what's your goal? Like, to get a mediocre number 4 starting pitcher and then add a really good bullpen piece and a really good bat? Like, how do you attack this? If you're Dave Dombrowski, you need to have a Pythagorean theorem of okay, we're going to try to improve as much as we can, but how much how much of the pie do we give to this department? How much of the pie do we give to the bullpen? How much of the pie do we give to the offense? Do we go out there and do we try to get an outfield? How much of the pie do we give to that? Like, there's so many different areas. Again, like, there's so many different holes. They got to put soil in so many different grounds here. How much do they put in with just a certain amount of soil that they have? You know? That's what it comes down to. Shout out to the grounds crew. They get paid to do that. It's just hardcore. Yeah, well, at the same time, like, I don't know. I like to give people their flowers. I understand that it's their job, but it was not easy for them. Same thing with the broadcast crew. I usually like to give flowers where flowers are due because obviously there's times where we see them screw up and they don't get the credit that they deserve. You know, like, people complain all the time and they don't really get a lot of praise. So I like to give praise where praise is due. That's just how I do it, though. But I understand your thoughts and I understand your feelings about that. But that's how I operate. You know, I know that even from people who work in retail or people who work in other jobs, that type of a thing, you know, they get a lot of complaints. But if somebody is helpful, if somebody does a good job, I like to say thank you, to those people. So that's how I operate, though. But yeah, Marsh's beer is co-MVP, Elaine. Marsh is my MVP for today. This is Elaine. What's up? What's up, Elaine? How you doing? The only way I take Gausman is if they give me Hoffman as well for Marsh. So you would be open to trading away Brandon Marsh, even though he is arguably your best outfielder, and you would stock up more on the pitching. I feel like the other thing that I have to keep in mind, too, is that they could make a trade for Brandon Marsh, right? And they get Kevin Gausman and Jeff Hoffman. That can't be all that they do. That can't be all that they do. Because then they're going to have to go out there and get themselves a solidified outfielder, too. You can argue, and you're probably saying, well, is Marsh a solidified outfielder? Well, I don't think that they're treating him that way because, again, now he's sitting again against lefties. I know that he wasn't doing well and he was going through a cold stretch, but he's an everyday player. I will still die on that bridge. I still will. Birdwatcher ran onto the field with a hairdryer trying to help dry the infield, says Michael. That's cool. If they get rid of Stott, I'm not watching any more games this year, says Try. If they get rid of Stott, though, for Luis Ariz, that's an upgrade. Technically, that's an upgrade. They're in too deep. They will watch the team fail to have a reason to blow it up, but he might now actively spend more money to get better. He might not actively spend more money to get better. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. So, any other things that I would like to talk about that were on the Twitter side of things? I haven't seen any sort of breaking news on the Philadelphia Phillies. Again, Gavin Williams went 5 2/3 today. He allowed 1 hit. He struck out 10 batters, 1 walk, and gave up no runs. I actually would not be shocked. Again, I said this before. I would not be shocked if Gavin Williams pitched his last game for the Cleveland Guardians today, and if the Milwaukee Brewers or even a team like the Philadelphia Phillies, I could actually see the Philadelphia Phillies possibly being in now that they didn't get Tarek Skubal. I don't know if the Guardians would accept that package, and I still think that for a guy like Gavin, that is ridiculous. I don't know. And I don't think that the Guardians would even take the package, but I'm just saying that it would not shock me if Dave Dombrowski said we could use a Gavin Williams on this starting rotation. And a rotation with Gavin Williams, Christopher Sanchez, Zach Wheeler, and Jesus Luzardo on paper sounds really, really good. You have Gavin Williams potentially as your number 3. He is a very good number 3. He's one of the top 20, top 15 best pitchers in all of baseball. But what's it going to take to get that done? It's going to take pretty much your whole entire farm system to be able to get that. And are the Phillies going to want to do that? I don't think so, but I don't know. That's just something to keep your eye on. It is something to watch out for. So, Adam says, I think Dombrowski needs to retire. Harper needs to stop trying to play GM at the same exact time, says Adam. Yeah, I'm happy that we're in agreement with this because it goes on both sides. I will continue to say it again and again and again. Both sides are wrong. Both sides are wrong. Bryce should have never been called out in the first place publicly by Dave. And while he was right about Bryce Harper not being elite last year, shouldn't have done that. Bryce Harper saying, I think we need some help. Again, he's right in the grand scheme of things, but also for him to do that, that's a bad look because they got to look at themselves in the mirror and take accountability because they're part of the problem as to where this team is. And people might not agree with me. I don't care. Those are my true thoughts. Call me whatever you want. Call me stupid. Call me other types of names. That's just the way that I see it. Both sides are in the wrong, and I will just keep it at that. But Dave better get a good night's sleep tonight. If he is going to get any sleep, it needs to be now, and he has to make this team better. That's the goal. That is the goal. Anything that I'd like to see from press conferences. Let's double check that right now. So this is from Don Mattingly. I would like to play this for you right now. That we did get something from Don Mattingly. It was posted on NBC Sports Philadelphia 2 minutes ago on their YouTube on their Twitter page. Hold up 1 second.
The first rain delay, you had a pretty long conversation with the umpire. It was just a little frustration maybe that you were going to lose Wheeler there.
Yeah, a little bit. Just starting it like that. I mean, both teams, honestly, both teams lost their starter. I know they're trying to make the best decision, but that was a little frustrating.
What did you think of Wheeler, though?
It was good.
For 2 innings.
He's back. He's just what we talked about. It looked like Wheeler. His fastball's back, sharp, breaking ball's good. So, yeah.
All right, so pretty much he just said that in regards to the grounds crew, I know that they're trying to make the best decision, but that was a little frustrating, and I can understand that, right? Because obviously Don has to make decisions, and he has to adjust his game plan with what he's going to do. He just does. Sorry about the volume. Let me put this back up a little bit. That's better. Sorry about that. But yeah, regardless, that must have been really frustrating for Don to be able to deal with that type of stuff. But ultimately, it worked out. I think it worked out very well. I am thrilled. If I'm Don Mattingly today, I'm thrilled because I did not have to go to many arms out of my bullpen. I thought that I was going to have to go to 7 different guys, possibly even more, and I only had to go to 2. That's a win. That is a huge win in my books. So that's where I stand. Marsh is not my best outfielder. He is 7 for 50 since the All-Star break. Yeah, but he was your best hitter in the first half of the season. He just was. He was your best hitter. He was playing every day. He was hitting really well against lefties. He's your best outfielder, period. He's your best overall outfielder. Now, maybe he wasn't your best outfielder during the second half of the season. Right now, it's Justin Crawford. I hear you. But he was playing like one of the best players, if not the best hitter on this team. How can I not just ignore the first half? Because he was doing so well. He was just doing so well, so. Harper should stop blaming others, says Mark. You just got to look in the mirror. And, again, same thing with Dave Dombrowski. I'm done with the topic. I'm done with the whole thing. It goes on both sides. It goes on both sides. So, hey, JJ, stopping by, brother. Thank you so much for being on here, Matt. I appreciate you very, very much. Yeah, overall, though, Philadelphia Phillies got the job done. The Nationals actually made a trade with we talked about Luis Garcia Jr. getting traded to the New York Yankees, which obviously tells me that they're not going to go after Luis Ariz. But the Nationals got Ben Grabel, right-handed pitcher, Giovanni Cruz, another right-handed pitcher, and Jake Siebert and Jake Birch. So they got 4 pitchers And honestly, if you're the Yankees, that's a win. That's a win because you didn't have to give up Spencer Jones, didn't have to give up Jason Dominguez, didn't have to give up any of those guys to go get a guy like Luis Garcia. It's a pretty good deal. That's a pretty good deal. So I would say that that's pretty awesome. Yes. Anything else? Bryce Harper, home run. He has a 7-game hit streak going on. It's the first home run that he's had off of a lefty since April, 3.5 months ago. It's the longest drought of his career, according to Scott Fransky. It's just good to see. Bryson Stott has an OBP of 412 with runners in scoring position this season, says Jeff Kerr. That was reported about 2 hours ago. We also did hear in other baseball news that Craig Kimbrell, I'm sure that you guys miss him. Craig Kimbrell got DFA'd by the Tampa Bay Rays. Do the Philadelphia Phillies pick back up Craig Kimbrell? Now that would be something. Oh, that would be something. That would be really crazy. Anyhow, so that is all I got for you today, chat. That's it. That's all that I got. So, all right. I love you all very, very much. That is going to wrap things up for me. Okay, I am going to send you guys off to somebody else who is live right now. Let us double check. Let's double check to see who is live at this moment in time. Let's go to customization. It is 6:50 p.m. Eastern time? Yeah. So let's go to our boy. Let's go to our boy Cerebral Palsy Gamer. Let's go check him out. Let's go to Jin's chat. All right. Let's go say hi to Jin. All right. He's doing his WWE SummerSlam 2026 live reaction. We haven't rated him in forever. So we'll go say hi to him. Make sure that you guys tell him that I said what's up. And I will catch you all in the next one. Be updated with all the trade deadline news. We might be going live. We might be posting YouTube shorts. We might be doing both. And we might be just posting on the social media platforms too. Keep up with everything. I got you covered. I'm not missing one single Phillies headline. Even if it's for something really small, I will keep you updated with as much as I possibly can. All right? Love you all. Good night. Catch you all in the next one. Peace. Atlanta fan at the buzzer. Atlanta fan at the buzzer with the sub over on YouTube. That is awesome. Let's go. Oh, we love it. Where's my sound effect? Why can't I find it? I can't find my sound effect. This is really bad. There we go. All right. I'm not stalling. I'm done. Bye. Adios. Shalom. See you on the next one.